At a men's fitness clinic I visited last year, I was watching a group of men over 60 move through a standard exercise assessment, and I noticed something that I couldn't stop thinking about afterward. The men who were thriving, the ones with the strongest grip, the best balance, the most natural ease of movement, weren't necessarily the ones who exercised the most. They weren't the ones with the most elaborate routines or the most time in the gym. What separated them was something far more specific. They were consistently doing a small number of targeted movements that the other men simply weren't doing. Movements that directly train the vascular and muscular systems most responsible for blood flow, hormonal output, and functional strength in men over 60. Most of the other men were working hard, but they were working on the wrong things for where their bodies actually are now. And the gap between those two groups, in energy, in physical confidence, in the way they carried themselves, was visible from across the room. Today I'm going to give you the 3 exercises that close that gap. Not a long list, not an overwhelming program, 3 movements grounded in exercise physiology and clinical research that specifically restore blood flow and rebuild the kind of strength that matters most for men over 60. If you've been working out and not seeing the results you expect, or if you've stepped back from exercise because it stopped feeling worth the effort, stay with me. Because what I'm about to share may be the most practical thing you hear about your physical health this year. I'm Dr. Emily Carter, a board-certified internal medicine physician with 14 years of experience in preventive health and performance medicine for men over 50. I've worked with thousands of men who are putting genuine effort into their health and still feeling like something isn't connecting, like the results aren't matching the work. In my clinical experience and in the research I follow closely, the missing piece is almost always the same. Most exercise advice given to men over 60 is either designed for younger men and scaled down, or it's so cautious and generic that it fails to actually stimulate the specific physiological adaptations men over 60 need most. I want to challenge something you may have been told, that the right approach to exercise after 60 is simply to do less, go easier, and accept a diminished return. In my clinical experience, that belief is far more negotiable than most men realize. The goal isn't less, the goal is more targeted. Before we go any further, hit that like button and drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from and what your current exercise routine looks like. I read every comment, and understanding where you're starting from helps me create content that actually serves you. Here's what's happening physiologically in men over 60 that most exercise programs completely fail to address. 3 things. First, endothelial function, the ability of your blood vessel walls to produce nitric oxide and dilate in response to physical demand, declines significantly after 60. This means less blood delivered to muscles during exertion, slower recovery, reduced erectile function, and lower physical stamina. Second, fast-twitch muscle fiber atrophy accelerates. These are the high-output muscle fibers responsible for power, strength, and the kind of physical presence that men associate with feeling capable and vital. They are lost faster than slow-twitch fibers with age, and most gentle, low-intensity exercise does almost nothing to preserve them. Third, the anabolic hormonal response to exercise. The testosterone and growth hormone release that follows a training session diminishes with age unless the training stimulus is specific enough to trigger it. Low-intensity chronic cardio produces minimal hormonal response in men over 60. The body has adapted to it. It needs a different signal. The 3 exercises I'm about to walk you through are selected precisely because they address all 3 of these mechanisms simultaneously. They stimulate nitric oxide production through vascular shear stress. They recruit and preserve fast-twitch muscle fibers through appropriate loading. And they produce a meaningful anabolic hormonal response by engaging the largest muscle groups in the body with sufficient intensity to trigger adaptation. Each exercise comes with a full protocol, the exact sets, reps, tempo, rest periods, and progressions, because the how matters as much as the what. Let's go through all 3 in complete detail. Exercise 1, the goblet squat. I want to start here because the goblet squat is, in my clinical opinion, the single most valuable exercise available to men over 60 who want to restore blood flow, rebuild lower body strength, and trigger a meaningful hormonal response, all in one movement. Let me explain exactly why before I give you the protocol. Biologically, the squat pattern engages the largest muscle groups in the human body simultaneously: the quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and lower back, along with significant stabilization demand from the core. When large muscle groups contract and relax rhythmically under load, they act as peripheral pumps for the vascular system. Blood is pushed forcefully through the capillary beds of working muscles, creating the vascular shear stress that signals endothelial cells to upregulate nitric oxide production. This is not a temporary effect. Research published in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that regular resistance training involving large lower body muscle groups produced sustained improvements in endothelial function and nitric oxide bioavailability, improvements that persisted between sessions and accumulated over weeks of consistent training. The goblet squat specifically is preferred over the barbell back squat for men over 60 because it loads the movement anteriorly, weight held at the chest, which naturally encourages an upright torso position, reduces spinal compression, and makes the movement accessible to men with limited shoulder mobility or previous back issues. The hormonal dimension is equally important. Research consistently demonstrates that compound lower body movements performed with moderate to challenging loads produce the largest acute testosterone and growth hormone response of any exercise category. A study in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research found that squat protocols using loads between 70 and 85% of 1 rep maximum produce testosterone elevations nearly double those seen with upper body isolation exercises at equivalent perceived effort. Emotionally, rebuilding lower body strength carries a particular significance for men over 60 that goes beyond the physical. The legs are the foundation of physical confidence. The ability to rise easily from a chair, to climb stairs without hesitation, to stand for long periods without fatigue. These are the quiet, daily expressions of physical capability that men begin to lose and often don't notice until the loss is significant. Rebuilding that foundation changes how a man moves through the world. It changes how he feels about himself. Here is the complete protocol. You will need a single dumbbell or kettlebell. Begin with a weight that allows you to complete 10 clean repetitions while feeling genuine effort on the last 2 or 3 reps. Not failure, but honest challenge. Stand with your feet slightly wider than shoulder width, toes turned out approximately 15 to 30 degrees. Hold the dumbbell vertically at chest height with both hands cupped around the top end. This is the goblet position. Initiate the movement by pushing your knees out in the direction of your toes and sitting your hips back and down simultaneously. Descend until your thighs are parallel to the floor, or as deep as your mobility currently allows without your lower back rounding. Pause for 1 full second at the bottom. Drive through your full foot to return to standing, squeezing your glutes firmly at the top. That is 1 repetition. Your protocol is 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions, with 90 seconds of rest between sets. Perform this movement twice per week with at least 48 hours between sessions. Progression. Every 2 weeks, if the last 2 reps of each set feel manageable rather than challenging, increase the weight by 5 pounds. Do not increase weight until the movement feels technically clean at the current load. Within 6 weeks, most men over 60 who have been sedentary or doing only light activity notice a measurable difference in leg strength, ease of movement, and physical stamina during daily activities. Exercise 2, the Romanian deadlift. If the goblet squat is the foundation, the Romanian deadlift is the architecture built on top of it. And I want to take real time with this one because it is the exercise most commonly omitted from programs designed for older men, usually out of excessive caution, and that omission is one of the most costly mistakes in men's health after 60. Biologically, the Romanian deadlift is a hip hinge movement that directly targets the posterior chain, the hamstrings, glutes, and lower back musculature running along the entire back of the body. The posterior chain is the primary driver of athletic power in the human body. It is also, critically, the muscle group most directly connected to pelvic blood flow, lower body circulation, and the muscular support of sexual function. Weak, underactivated posterior chain muscles are associated with reduced pelvic circulation, pelvic floor dysfunction, and the kind of low-grade postural compression that impairs blood flow to the genitourinary system over time. Training the posterior chain with the Romanian deadlift directly addresses all of these mechanisms. Research published in the journal Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise found that hip hinge resistance training in men over 60 produced significant improvements in arterial compliance, the elasticity of blood vessels, in the lower body and pelvis within 8 weeks of consistent training. This translated directly to improved circulation scores, and in the men in the study who were tracking erectile function, meaningful self-reported improvement. Beyond circulation, the Romanian deadlift preserves the fast-twitch muscle fibers of the hamstrings and glutes that are among the first to atrophy with age and inactivity. These fibers are responsible for the explosive, powerful movements, rising quickly from a seated position, accelerating while walking, maintaining balance during unexpected shifts of weight, that directly determine physical independence and confidence in men over 60. Emotionally, men who rebuild posterior chain strength describe a particular shift in how they feel physically, a sense of being rooted, of having power behind them, of standing in their body in a way that feels solid rather than tentative. That sensation is real, and it is worth pursuing directly. Here is the complete protocol. You will need 2 dumbbells of equal weight, or a single barbell if you have access to one. Begin with a weight that creates genuine effort by the 8th repetition of each set. Stand with your feet hip-width apart, dumbbells held in front of your thighs with your palms facing your body. Maintain a slight, soft bend in your knees throughout the entire movement. This is not a straight leg exercise, but the knees should not bend significantly either. Initiate the movement by pushing your hips backward, not by bending at the waist, but by sending your hips directly behind you as if you are trying to touch the wall behind you with your tailbone. As your hips travel back, the dumbbells lower along the front of your legs, tracking close to your shins and thighs. Your back remains flat, not rounded, not hyperextended, and your chest stays open. Lower until you feel a strong stretch in your hamstrings, typically when the weights reach mid-shin level. Pause for 1 second. Drive your hips forward to return to standing, squeezing your glutes firmly at the top of the movement. Your protocol is 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions, with 90 seconds of rest between sets. Perform this movement twice per week, ideally on the same days as your goblet squat to consolidate your training sessions. Progression follows the same model. Increase weight by 5 pounds every 2 weeks when the final reps feel manageable. Within 4 to 6 weeks, men consistently report noticing the engagement of muscles they had stopped feeling during daily movement, a sign that dormant posterior chain tissue is being reactivated. Take Robert, 66, a retired contractor. He came to me having given up on lower body training entirely after a mild back strain 2 years earlier. He had lost significant strength and confidence in his physical capability, and he was beginning to notice the downstream effects: reduced energy, diminished sexual function, a general sense of physical decline that was affecting his mood and his marriage. We introduced the Romanian deadlift with very light weight and meticulous attention to technique. 8 weeks later, Robert told me something I've heard variations of many times. He said, "I forgot what it felt like to feel strong. That's back now." He wasn't talking about the weight on the dumbbells. He was talking about himself. Exercise 3. The incline push-up with full range of motion. I want to be specific about this variation because a standard floor push-up performed with limited range of motion produces a fraction of the vascular and strength benefit available from the correctly executed incline version. The distinction matters, and I'll explain exactly why. Biologically, the push-up pattern, a horizontal pressing movement, engages the chest, anterior shoulders, and triceps while requiring significant core stabilization. The incline version, performed with hands elevated on a bench, step, or sturdy surface at approximately hip height, achieves two things that the floor version cannot for most men over 60. First, it allows a genuinely full range of motion. The chest can descend fully below the hands at the bottom of the movement, creating a deep stretch across the pectoral muscle fibers that standard floor push-ups against the ground cannot replicate. This full range of motion is essential for maximally stimulating blood flow and muscle fiber recruitment. Second, it reduces the absolute load to approximately 50 to 60% of body weight compared to 70% for the floor version, making it sustainable and technically clean for men who have lost upper body strength during periods of inactivity. The cardiovascular effect of push-up-based training specifically has strong research support for men over 60. A landmark study published in JAMA Network Open, following over 1,100 male firefighters, found that men who could complete 40 or more push-ups had a 96% lower risk of cardiovascular events over a 10-year follow-up, compared to men who could complete fewer than 10. The push-up in this analysis was a stronger predictor of cardiovascular health than aerobic treadmill testing. The researchers concluded that upper body muscular endurance, as measured by push-up capacity, reflects systemic cardiovascular fitness in ways that directly predict heart health outcomes. Beyond cardiovascular effects, the push-up pattern preserves the shoulder girdle strength and chest muscle mass that are strongly associated with testosterone levels in men. Muscle mass and testosterone exist in a bidirectional relationship, with each supporting the maintenance of the other. Emotionally, upper body strength carries a specific dimension of physical identity for men. The chest, shoulders, and arms are the muscles men most associate with feeling physically capable, physically present, and physically confident. Rebuilding that musculature rebuilds something in a man's sense of himself that is difficult to name but impossible to ignore. Here is the complete protocol. Find a sturdy surface at approximately hip height, a kitchen counter, a weight bench, a sturdy table edge. Place your hands slightly wider than shoulder width on the surface, fingers pointing forward or very slightly outward. Walk your feet back until your body forms a straight diagonal line from your heels to your head. Your hips should not sag downward or pike upward. A straight plank position throughout. Lower your chest slowly toward the surface, taking 3 full seconds on the way down. At the bottom, your chest should lightly touch or come within an inch of the surface. This is the full range of motion that most men never achieve on the floor. Pause for 1 second. Press back to the starting position in 1 to 2 seconds. That is 1 repetition. Your protocol is 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions with 60 to 90 seconds of rest between sets. Perform this movement twice per week. Progression. When 12 clean repetitions feel genuinely manageable across all 3 sets, lower the elevation of your hands by 2 to 3 inches. Moving your hands to a lower surface increases the load progressively until you are working toward a full floor push-up. This progression model allows men who cannot currently perform a single floor push-up to build systematically toward that milestone over 8 to 12 weeks. Here is your complete weekly protocol. On Monday and Thursday, perform all 3 exercises as a circuit or as sequential straight sets. Goblet squat. 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, 90 seconds rest. Romanian deadlift. 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps, 90 seconds rest. Incline push-up. 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, 60 to 90 seconds rest. Total training time per session is approximately 25 to 35 minutes. On the remaining days, walk. 30 minutes of brisk walking on the days between your strength sessions maintains vascular stimulus, supports recovery, and compounds the circulatory benefits of the 3 exercises. That is your entire program. 2 strength sessions per week, daily walking. Nothing more complicated than that. Within the first 2 weeks, you will likely notice muscle soreness in places you haven't felt in some time. That is your body registering a new stimulus. Within 4 weeks, most men report that daily movements feel easier and that their energy during the day is noticeably more consistent. Within 6 to 8 weeks, the vascular and hormonal adaptations the research predicts begin to manifest in measurable ways, in physical performance, in recovery speed, in sleep quality, and in the kind of physical confidence that changes how a man moves through his day. I want to say something directly before we close. If you have been waiting for the right moment to start, or waiting to feel motivated enough, or telling yourself you'll begin when things slow down, I want to gently challenge that pattern. The motivation to exercise follows the exercise. It does not precede it. The first session is the hardest. The second is easier. By the fourth or fifth, your body has begun to remember what it feels like to be trained, and it starts asking for it. Your body has more capacity than you've been told. These 3 movements are not a compromised version of fitness for older men. They are a targeted, evidence-grounded protocol that respects where your physiology is now and meets it with exactly what it needs. What's actually within reach for you is genuine strength, restored circulation, and the physical vitality that most men over 60 have accepted as permanently behind them. It is not behind you. It is ahead of you. And it begins this week. If today's video gave you a clear path forward, give it a like so other men over 60 can find it. Leave a comment below and tell me which of these 3 exercises you're starting with. I want to know. Share this with a man in your life who has stepped back from exercise and needs a reason to step back in. And subscribe for more clinically grounded, evidence-based health and performance content designed specifically for men over 50 and 60. I'm Dr. Emily Carter. Strength after 60 is not a memory. It is a choice you make this week, and your body is ready to respond. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.